I never should have gone inside that house. But curiosity, they say, is a powerful thing. More so when you're young and stupid. Hollow Street, on the outskirts of my town, always had this reputation. The kind of place that parents warned their kids about. Don't go near that end, they'd say. Stay on the other side where the lights are bright and the houses aren't falling apart. But for some reason, that made the house at the end even more tempting. It was old, crumbling, like something out of a black and white horror movie. Windows boarded up, but sometimes you swore you could see something moving behind the cracks in the wood. The paint had long since peeled away, leaving behind raw wood that had grayed from years of exposure. People said the house was cursed. Others said it was haunted. Me? I wasn't sure, but I was damn sure I was going to find out. I was 17, a kid who thought I had nothing to fear. My friends dared me to go in. Just one night, they said, and you'll be a legend. I didn't need much convincing. We were a small town, not much excitement, and honestly, I wanted to feel something different, something that would make my heart race. So one autumn night, just after sunset, I went alone. I had a flashlight, a phone with barely any battery, and the kind of arrogance only a teenager could possess. The door creaked open as though it had been waiting for me. Inside, the smell hit me first. Damp, moldy, with an undertone of rot that curled the edges of my nostrils. Dust hung in the air, disturbed by my presence. And the silence. It was oppressive, almost as if the house itself was holding its breath, waiting for something. I could feel the history of the place immediately. It pressed in on me from the corners, from the walls, from the ceiling. It felt alive, like the house had been watching me the entire time I stood outside. Now I was in its belly. I remember the floorboards groaning beneath my weight, but it wasn't just wood against weight. It was deeper, like something stirring beneath me, beneath the very structure. I shook it off, convincing myself it was nothing more than my overactive imagination. After all, it's just an empty house. People lived here once. They died, they moved on. Simple as that, right? The main hall opened into a larger room, and in the dim light of my flashlight, I could see a staircase winding up into the darkness. To my left, an old fireplace with a blackened hearth, and to my right, a doorway leading into what must have been the kitchen. I heard something then, a sound, faint but unmistakable. A shuffle, like feet dragging across the floor, coming from above. I froze, straining my ears. Nothing. Just my mind playing tricks on me, I told myself. The air was cold, colder than it should have been, and I rubbed my arms to get rid of the goosebumps that had crept up my skin. I decided I'd check upstairs. After all, that's where the real horror always is, right? The stairs protested as I ascended. Every step another creak in the silence. Halfway up, I heard it again. That dragging noise, closer now, like someone or something was waiting just beyond the reach of my light. I was scared. No, I was terrified. But I couldn't stop myself. I had to see. The second floor was worse. It smelled of mildew and something metallic. Blood? No, that was impossible. I swept my flashlight across the hallway. Rooms lined both sides, but all the doors were closed except one at the far end. That door was ajar, and from it, a faint yellow light flickered, like a candle struggling against a breeze. I should have turned around. I should have left right then. But no. I walked toward that light, each step making the dragging sound louder. My heart was in my throat by the time I reached the doorway, and when I looked inside, I saw it. A figure crouched in the corner, its back to me. Human, or at least, it used to be. The skin was pale, almost translucent, stretched tight over its bones, and its arms were unnaturally long, fingers splayed out on the floor like a spider. It didn't move at first, just sat there, breathing slowly, raggedly. I should have run, but my feet wouldn't listen. I was frozen, watching as this thing, whatever it was, slowly turned its head. Its neck cracked as it moved, the sound loud in the silence. Its face was hollow. No eyes, just black pits, and its mouth. God, its mouth stretched impossibly wide, like someone had taken a knife and carved it open from ear to ear. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. My voice was trapped in my throat just like my legs were glued to the floor. It looked at me, or at least I felt like it was looking at me. Then, slowly, it began to stand, limbs contorting unnaturally as it rose to full height. Taller than any human, its head nearly scraped the ceiling. I backed away, finally able to move, but it was too late. The thing took one slow, deliberate step toward me, then another. The sound of its feet dragging across the floor was deafening, louder than my heartbeat, louder than my shallow breaths. I ran. I don't know how I managed, but I bolted down the stairs, nearly tripping on my way down. The house seemed alive now, creaking and groaning as if it were laughing at me. Behind me, I heard it, the creature's slow pursuit, never rushing, just dragging itself closer with each passing second. I burst through the front door, my flashlight long forgotten, and I didn't stop running until I was halfway down Hollow Street. When I finally looked back, the house was just a silhouette in the distance, but I knew it was watching me. The figure stood in the doorway, still, silent, waiting. I never told anyone what I saw. They wouldn't believe me anyway. But sometimes, when the nights are cold and quiet, I swear I can hear that dragging sound closer than it should be, and I wonder if it ever really let me go.